I guess I'm old enough to remember when hybrid wasn't cool, and well, neither was a Camry, so joining the two together couldn't be cool at all. Well, that's not the case today. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now behind me is the 2018 Toyota Camry Hybrid, and what it does is make me forget of all the things I've known and, well, take a new look at, well, this cool car. So I had just started my automotive career decades ago, and back then hybrid was kind of a new thing, and what that meant was, well, we're going to put on some weird geekish cars and, well, keep the main vehicle separate, because separate is better so we don't mess up what everyone likes until we figure out this hybrid thing. Well, now that we figured out, well, let's combine both and we'll make everything cool. Now, what's great is this vehicle is running right now, and that's hard to do and hear me at the same time for most vehicles. But for a hybrid, well, the quietness is par for the game. Now, first off, let's talk about Camry. I'm not saying it's not cool, nor has never been cool, but it has definitely evolved. Decades ago, it used to be just kind of a plain sedan. Basically not a grandparent's car, but an executive car, a family car, something to, well, just get everyone down the road. Now it's actually an adventure. It's something a lot more sporty. Now when you add hybrid to it, well, now it just makes it a cool, sporty, smart vehicle, because after all, saving money at the gas pump is the whole point of going green. Before we dive into the design, let's first talk about the overall numbers, because this vehicle is a big option on the road, and it really compares to some other mid-sized things called SUVs. Now, by the numbers, it's about 192 inches, about ½ inch longer here for the SLE versus the standard model, and that probably refers to a little bit of more flair when it comes to overall design. Now, as for the wheelbase, around about 111 inches. Now, width is fairly wide at just about 6 feet, but height just over 4.5 feet tall, so fairly low to the ground. You can see that in the ground clearance at just under 6 inches. So it definitely, for someone my height, means you're going to kind of have to boot, scoot, boogie down low to get inside. Now, as for the design, again, from whence we came back in the day, not what you see here. First off, a lot of flair going on, especially when you look down low and you swing around to the front. Way down low, the body stand tight, sweeps in, but right down there, nice flare out, giving this vehicle a lot of lower stance and a lot of aggressiveness when it comes to design. As you sweep back, nice broad haunches and this kind of flare out here at the back end, and well, an implied spoiler built into the rear deck lid. Those designs by no means remind me of where this vehicle used to be. Guerrilla warfare is one of the first things people are going to see when you're going on the road, and the Camry hands down delivers when it comes to design. You can see it right across the middle with this whole hood sweeping down and this matching body color sweeping through. Otherwise, it's a very dark accent blending all the way around, giving this a very monochromatic, dark, aggressive look for this particular design on this vehicle. Now, what you also see is nice stylized lower grille, really sweeping out and giving it, again, an aggressive front end. Now, this is a lot of airflow sweeping through here, even in these nice tight niches. Now, as for the flare out here on the side, these are just for visual effect. There's not actually any air sweeping through here. But overall, nice and dynamic front, even right down to the headlight assembly. Now, interestingly, the headlight assembly is nice and narrow, but projects quite a lot of beam down the road. And of course, it's nice and bedazzled, jeweled, and well, innovative. When it comes to ingress in any vehicle, the talking point right now is smart key systems. No longer putting a key in or even pressing a key fob. Instead, it's all hands-free approach. Now, some vehicles are doing this different. It could be a button at different access points, but for the Camry, it's really innovative with your hand placement. Now, here on the passenger side, if you put it in here, it knows you're there, unlocks all the doors. If you want to lock it up, simply press right here, rub across. It's going to lock all the doors with ease. Now, for the driver, what we found is once you put your hand on the driver's door, it unlocks that door. Then I had to press the unlock button for the rest. A better preference would be what we see on some vehicles, where you place your hand once, take it out, place it again, it unlocks all the rest. We couldn't find an option to change that over. Could be myself and the learning curve. Now, as for the rest of the vehicle, real nice design when you look through here. Again, nice and low and sweeps. You can tell on that hood alone, it's nice and chiseled and really sweeps up out of the way, giving this a lot of aerodynamic flow, and it doesn't hurt that most vehicles are going to the shark fin when it comes to the antenna. So one area I always talk about is the fill up and whether it is a secured area. And what's great with the Camry is it's locked all the time. Instead, it has a press button there to release it. Kind of a throwback Thursday, but it really keeps things locked and prevents any access here until you need it. Now, once you pop it open, it is a cap system. Some vehicles are debating the capless versus cap, but again, I'm starting to let you figure out if you prefer it one way or the other. Sweep around to the back, one feature on a sedan that, well, is starting to be compromised with design is, well, the overall space. As vehicles become narrower, more chiseled, this can be the Achilles heel because, well, it gets compromised by design, but that's not the case for the Camry. It still delivers. Now, first off, let's look at the rear end as it sweeps down. Again, that implied rear spoiler, and again, body color all the way around, minimal chrome just here and there, and you'll notice this hybrid, of course, has that blue emblem hidden there behind the Toyota symbol, basically implying that this is the hybrid model. Now, as for the actual cargo, first off is getting this up out of the way. Now, interestingly, traditional thinking here would be that your handle release is right here. Well, not the case. Instead, you have to go far over to the right. Now, that makes it a little awkward should you just be first using this, or maybe a friend's trying to access it. They'll spend 5 or 6 seconds trying to find the actual release. Now, once this is open, typical operating procedure, nice and cavernous trunk, very little access really out this way, but tons of volume when you look back in there. Almost looks cave-like, of course. Now, what you're going to see is around about 15 cubic feet of space, and what that equates to at the end of the day is plenty of room for luggage, whatever you want to put in there, and specifically golf clubs. That's one thing we found with the width of some vehicles. You truly can't put the traditional clubs across here. They typically go angular. That starts to compromise maybe the foursome getting to the links, but in this case there is a nice void here and there, allows you to truly stack a full set of clubs in here when you need. Sometimes when you're trying to do cargo and you're here at the back end, you've just got that one big piece, you need to lay the second row. That's going to require maybe moving around the vehicle going inside, but instead for the Camry, they simply have a pull tab here. Once you pull that, the seat is released, allows you to maybe press that item up against it, and it's going to tumble forward. This is just a nice quick access when you're here at the back end. Now, with the pull tabs done, it is somewhat difficult to actually reach those seat backs, so you're actually going to have to come inside to tumble these forward. But what's great is they're nice and light, make it nice and easy. So if you did have an item that is long enough, it will extend into here to press these down. So it doesn't require a lot of oomph, but reaching it from back there to here with yourself is not very easy. So either have a broom handle to push them down, or just use the item you're putting in place to tumble this forward. Looking at the back seat, let's talk about comfort. Now, first thing you'll notice is somewhat of a standard bench styling when it looks back here. And again, a little bit difficult to climb inside, especially in my 6-foot frame, because this rear pillar does angle quite a bit back there. Now, once you get inside though, it does feel quite spacious, especially with the overall headroom. And the reason for that is this little lower hump right here actually elevates as it gets to traditional head spacing, giving you actually overall cathedral-like feel. Now, you do have this nice center console. Traditionally on some vehicles, this is elevated just a little bit more and actually doesn't use the cushion to rest. That's not the case here. This kind of just flops into place and rests here on the cushion. Now, once it's in place, it does have decent overall feel and 2 cup holders built in. Now, tucked out of the way, what you will find, again, bench styling, a little bit of sculpting here on the outer sides to give a sport feel and individualized attention. Now, room for 3 across the middle. Now, as for legroom numbers, about 42 inches in the front, 38 inches in the back. Now, you will notice versus maybe crossovers that this seating is a little bit lower. Crossovers, those kind of vehicles, going to have a little bit more ground clearance, a little bit more verticalness here on the seat bottom, but instead you're just going to see a little bit knees elevated just a little bit. And of course, you're going to see the seat backs in the front having that nice arch to them to give that extra breathing room when it comes to your knees. One thing that affects spacing back in the back seat for 3 passengers is this center hump here. Now, what you're going to find is traditional feet placement on either side for the center occupant, but it appears just to be wide enough that everyone can scoot to the outer portions to give just enough feet room for the middle occupant. Now, the Camry Hybrid looks sporty, and well, it is sporty when it comes to the power plant. It's not anemic and, well, feels like you're driving a golf cart. Now, specifically, it has a net horsepower of 208. Now, that's delivered from a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. Now, it's going to deliver the 176 horses and 163 foot-pounds of torque. Now, when you combine that with the hybrid systems, specifically the electric motor power output, that's going to add an additional 88 kilowatts. We all want that solid feel when we're driving a vehicle, and it all really comes down to when we close the door and just how it sounds. And for the Camry, well, it just doesn't sound so solid. Now, that hollow feeling I got when I closed the door on the driver's side really only accounted when the passenger side was open. So when the driver's closed, you close this door, well, it does sound a little bit more solid. Go figure. Now, the coolness factor for this vehicle truly applies to the person that sits right here in the driver's seat, because that's what, well, people are going to associate is who's the driver is the one that's the coolest. Everyone else is, well, just their friends. Now, what I like up here is this is the best seat in the house. The chairs truly are captain's chairs, really enveloping the front driver and passenger. Nice sculpting, but not too much bolstering. Some vehicles are really bolstering too much and just make it too narrow. Different body types would find it, well, uncomfortable. This one having plenty of width and comfort to go around. Now, it does have some nice stitching and again some overall feel. Looking at the inside of the Camry, one of the first things you'll notice really is the touch screen system right in the middle, and it is divided into a tri-zone. Now, what's great is this upper area is going to give you a lot of information on the hybrid technology as it's happening. Now, what you'll notice is the battery tells you how much depleted or how much is stored, and it tells you what is going on with charging it. Now, a lot of times your wheels will be charging, your engine's charging. Now, we're just sitting stationary, so you'll see now this goes on all the time while you're going on the road. Can be somewhat distracting because it looks like almost like you're downloading or updating a file on your iPad. Instead, this is really just telling you what's going on with the hybrid system. Now, if you press it, it's going to give you a lot more information, really give you a specific schematic of all the information. Now, that's helpful if you, of course, understand it, appreciate it, and, well, utilize it to your advantage. Now, from the screen, one thing you can look at is the history, which you click there, and what you're going to see is kind of a graph of your energy efficiency. Even best is the miles per gallon, which you'll see at the top. Now, best is my 48 miles per gallon, but the latest was basically around 41. Good numbers either way, but could we make them better? Well, more than likely. Now, one thing I did notice while I was driving, if I wanted to do a quick adjustment of the volume, I did reach up, but the problem was I reached for this knob because it is the closest. Now, that is the tune select, so pretty much for half the time I just simply changed the station instead of lowering the volume. Instead, I had to reach a little bit further to this volume, so it wouldn't hurt maybe to replace this, because typically we leave it on the station and typically change the volume a lot more. Now, a simpler function is, of course, on the steering wheel, which is this button here, which is real easy to utilize. But until your mindset is, well, not to use the knob, well, you'll forget all about this and, well, reach up here. For the gauge cluster, what you're going to find is a standard analog speedometer there on the right with a hybrid technology here on the left with an LCD screen there in the middle. Now, what's great is this will mirror what you're seeing there on the dash, but, well, as you're going down the road. Now, what's great is you can go up and down and look at various functions there in the middle, everything down even to tire pressure. But what I truly like is the digital readout for speed, because it's just a quicker glance, well, than looking over there. If you truly want to make this car sporty, you can go with the paddle shifters here on the steering wheel, the plus on the right and the minus on the left. That will make this vehicle feel a little bit more sporty, but I tend to just make it automated and go down the road. Now, one thing that's great is safety features, and what you'll find here is the lane departure. Now, when you have that active, this will allow the steering wheel to help adjust should it sense you veering left or right, but you can take it off if you don't like that option. Now, the cruise control is found here as well. If you're buying a hybrid, you're probably innovative when it comes to knowing all the latest technologies, and one of them being the battery-powered cases that you can get for your phones, where you can simply lay your phone here, turn it on, and it's going to power just by placing it down. But if you're like me, you haven't got that technology, you can power it with a good old USB, and you do have an auxiliary jack, and you do have a standard power supply here as well. Now, if you don't utilize this charging station, you can use it as a shelf or press it out of the way and use the lower storage area to maybe put some bigger items. Now, if you want to hide them up, just simply close this and no one knows it's there. Now, what's great about the hybrid is you can get the best of both worlds, from the gas engine to the electric functions, and you can find the selector areas right through here, from normal, sport, even econo mode, right down to electric vehicle. Now, one symbol we've all come to know is that seatbelt reminder, and if you don't notice it at all, well, thankfully there's an audible alert that will, well, remind you just the same, and even better is it will never go off until you buckle up. And that does it for this edition of Road Warrior and a test drive behind the wheel of the 2018 Toyota Camry Hybrid. Two combinations of Camry and Hybrid that have really evolved and gone away from what I once knew and gone into an area, well, I wasn't aware they entered, called sport, well, and coolness. And where you see that is on the design, the spunk under the hood, and delivering, well, a full-size model that definitely gets 4 to 5 people down the road, plus there are things in the back. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.